Welcome to This Explainer. I am super excited you're tuning in today because we are going to unpack one of the most fascinating, completely counterintuitive strategies in the entire business world. Okay, I want you to picture something. Imagine running this highly successful, world-famous restaurant. Your most popular meal is ordered millions of times a year. Now imagine that every single time you hand that meal to a customer, you lose money. You know it, your accountants know it, and yet you absolutely refuse to change a thing. In fact, you actively fight to keep losing that money. It sounds like a total paradox, right? Well, today, we're going to look at the massive empires built entirely on the strategy of losing money on purpose. $1.50. This isn't just any random price tag. This specific meal, a hot dog and a soda, has cost exactly $1.50 since 1985. Not a single penny more. The company behind it sells over 150 million of these combos every single year. And, because of the cost of ingredients today compared to the 80s, they sell every single one of those 150 million meals at a guaranteed, undeniable financial loss. So, you really have to ask yourself, why? Why on earth would a highly profitable, ruthlessly efficient global retailer fight to keep a permanent, gaping hole in its own pocket? I mean, if your business is bleeding money on 150 million transactions a year, standard logic says you patch that hole immediately. But this company doesn't patch it. They aggressively guard it. Let's find out why this isn't a mistake, but actually a stroke of absolute genius.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the price that won't move, a 40-year frozen price. We are, of course, talking about the membership warehouse giant Costco. Back in 1985, $1.50 for a hot dog and a drink was cheap, sure, but it made business sense. But then, the world got expensive. By the year 2000, beef and fuel prices went up. Fast forward to 2020, and inflation absolutely soared. Every other menu at every other food counter in the country doubled or tripled in price just to keep up. Yet, as this timeline brilliantly illustrates, despite executives practically begging to raise prices for 4 decades, this one specific number hasn't moved an inch.
The sheer scale of the math involved here is honestly staggering. To put that into perspective, if that original $1.50 price tag had just tracked normally with inflation, that exact same meal should cost around $4 today. That means Costco is just eating a massive financial gap on every single one of those 150 million meals. They are choosing to absorb the blow instead of passing a higher price onto you.
And the dedication to this loss is so intense that it's actually become legendary inside the company. Years ago, Costco's co-founder, Jim Sinegal, was asked point blank, if the price of the hot dog ever actually goes up, what does it mean? His response? That I'm dead. No joke. He was dead serious. He was telling you something absolutely fundamental about his strategy. Which brings us to section 2. The real product is you. Walking through the door. To understand why a CEO would literally rather die than raise the price of a hot dog, we have to completely shift our perspective. Let's trace your actual steps when you enter the warehouse. Step 1, you walk through those massive front doors. Step 2, you're forced to walk past endless pallets of high-margin goods. We're talking massive flat-screen TVs, winter jackets, jewelry, bulk groceries, the whole shebang. And finally, step 3, you reach the food counter, located all the way at the very back of the store. By the time you actually get your cheap hot dog, your shopping cart is packed, and your register total has ticked up into the hundreds of dollars.
So the crucial point is this concept right here, the loss leader. A loss leader is a product sold below cost to pull you in, so you spend on everything else. The hot dog isn't the product. The hot dog is just the bait. The actual product being delivered is you. You are being delivered into a building packed with items where the company makes a very healthy margin. That cheap meal is basically the cheapest, most effective advertising they could ever buy to get you through the doors.
And man, the results of this strategy speak for themselves. Get this, almost 90% of Costco members renew their membership every single year. That tiny financial loss on a hot dog builds immense customer loyalty. It makes you feel like the company's got your back, that you're getting an unbeatable deal, and that your membership fee is a total steal. Competitors blow billions of dollars on TV commercials trying to build that exact kind of loyalty. Costco, they buy it with a $1.50 hot dog. Moving right along to section 3, the trap is everywhere. Seeing the hidden system.
The funny thing is, once you know the shape of this trap, you start seeing it everywhere, especially in all the places you go to relax. Take a movie theater. The ticket itself barely breaks even for the cinema, since most of that cash goes straight back to the Hollywood studios. The big screen is literally just bait for the $8 bucket of popcorn that costs them pennies to pop. Or look at a furniture store like IKEA. Those incredibly cheap meatballs refuel you so you don't leave for lunch. Instead, you wander their massive showroom maze until you eventually buy a sofa. And at a casino, that famously cheap all-you-can-eat buffet is just bait to keep you fed and inside the building so you wander back out onto the gambling floor.
The core rule for all of these industries is identical. Give away the thing people notice and make your money on the things they don't. And hey, I want to be totally clear. These deals aren't scams. You genuinely get the cheap hot dog, the cheap meatballs, and the cheap buffet. That is exactly what makes the strategy work so beautifully. It's a genuine deal, but it operates entirely as a door to get you inside their ecosystem. Which leaves us with a massive open loop here. If taking a loss on just one item, like popcorn or a hot dog, can pull millions of people in and generate huge profits elsewhere, what happens if a company is bold enough to scale this up? What happens if a company decides to lose money on, well, everything? Section 4. Empires built on losses. Scaling to the extreme. Let's rewind a bit to the late 1990s. Imagine a young, completely unproven online bookstore entering the scene, and they are bleeding money, entirely by design. While their sales were absolutely exploding, creating this massive, unprecedented growth, their actual profits sat at near zero. And as you'll see here, this was a choice. Every single dollar this company earned, they aggressively shoveled straight back into cheaper prices, faster shipping, and building massive new warehouses. They literally chose to have zero profit. People thought they were crazy. Critics and financial analysts on live TV actively mocked the founder, calling his business famously unprofitable. But they completely missed the magic trick happening right in front of their faces. The founder wasn't failing to make a profit. He was taking that profit and using it as a massive loss leader investment to build the future. Yeah, you guessed it, that company was Amazon. And look at this staggering number. For almost 10 full years, they actively avoided turning a real annual profit. They basically scaled the hot dog logic to $1 trillion. By keeping their profits virtually non-existent for a decade, they made their prices so low and their shipping so fast that they became totally unbeatable. By the time Amazon finally decided to flip the switch and start making a profit on purpose, it was too late for anyone else. No one could ever catch them.
Let's move to Section 5. The loss is the business, and see how this builds to the ultimate flip.
So whether we're talking about a global internet giant or just your local store, let's bring it back down to our familiar anchor, $1.50. When you first looked at this price tag, you likely thought what most of us think. You thought it was just a cheap meal. Maybe you thought it was a quirky mistake that some executive forgot to fix. Or, just a little bit of corporate kindness in an increasingly expensive world. Actually, scratch that. It's way deeper than that. You are looking at the most patient, effective sales pitch ever constructed. The loss they take on that meal isn't just the cost of doing business. The loss is the business. The movie theater, the furniture store maze, the casino floor, and the $1 trillion online warehouse, they all understand human psychology perfectly. People will always aggressively guard their wallets against the price tag they can see, right? But almost no one guards their wallet against the door they willingly walk through. Which leaves us with a pretty haunting final thought to ponder. The next time you're out in the world and something feels just a little too good to be true, the next time a deal feels just a bit too cheap to actually make any business sense, ask yourself, what is it really selling? Because I can guarantee you for sure, the product isn't the hot dog. The product is you. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this completely changes how you look at your next great deal.